This episode of the Tom Retro Chronicle is brought to you by the song called Slow Burn by the artist called Kevin MacLeod. Check out more pod save music. Check out incompetech.com for your royalty-free music. Enjoy. A 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5. It is the Tom Retro Chronicle with your host called Tom Retro.
Looking good, baby!
Tom Retro is also known as the Retro Guy and has a very interesting angle on things like sports, music, movies, books, and pretty much mostly life. He has a WordPress account, a very funny Twitter account, and overall a very interesting guy. Yeah. And also has very interesting interviews like me, Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. So let's head it to our very own very special host called Tom Retro. Listen to that blues rock. Oh yes. Alright, welcome my friends to the show that never ends. And welcome to episode 28 of the Tom Retro Chronicle. Sorry I haven't done a whole lot of podcasts last week, even though I said I was going to do something. But obviously I didn't, so I apologize for that. So now that I got that out of the way, yeah, so it's episode 28. Life is still going good, Work is doing fine, even though the back to school season is starting to come down to the bitter, actually not so bitter, and I'm actually glad back to school is done. Yes, finally. All right. So this is pretty much gonna be just basically in terms of podcasts, I'm probably just going to talk about hopefully some upcoming projects that I kind of want to do for my channel, which is Tom Music Fan 19 if you aren't sure. So yeah, got that out of the way as well. Then I have some NFL preview. Probably going to do some predictions on who's gonna take the cake, who's my Super Bowl predictions, my division predictions, so it could be pretty interesting. So we'll have to see what happens with it. So yeah, and then Packers preview because I'm still a fan of the Packers. So yeah, can't really think of anything else that I should really mention off the top of the bat. I was going to do a college football preview, but that is obviously not so the case because pretty much, as you already noticed, college football is back. So I'm just not going to do that. Probably I'm just going to say if Notre Dame wins 10 games this year, they already won. They already beat Temple last Saturday. That was obviously a no-brainer on a win like that. So it could be pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. So if we can win at least 10 games, I'll be pretty happy with it. And if we also win if we also win a bowl game, that would be also pretty cool too. But anyway, let's get to the projects I kind of want to do. It's probably going to be a short segment anyway, so. In terms of upcoming projects that I kind of want to do for the channel, I've had a couple of ideas what something I kind of want to do. First off, I still have the file or something like that. I still have the file when I used to be a DJ at KMSC, which was the radio station over in at my old college at MSUM, so I still have some archive, I don't know how you would say that, footage, archival footage of me as a DJ, and I'm still trying to putz around, but I haven't really gotten to that because I've been working, all that much. So that could be pretty interesting as well. Some other things I kind of want to do for the channel is I've taken quite a few photos in my time that I've ever since I've gotten a camera, like a digital camera. So I still have quite a bit of a library to go through, and maybe try something new, maybe do some commentary on it to make it a little bit more interesting, so to speak. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that as well. So that's probably some upcoming projects that I kind of want to do. Just basically that. In terms of me doing the karaoke thing, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I kind of still want to do it, but yeah, I keep on singing in the car about certain songs that usually I just forget what they are, and yeah, so usually it's kind of very interesting to figure out what songs I want to sing about, so I still kind of want to do that too. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for upcoming projects. So that's, as I said before, it was probably gonna be a short segment anyway. So let's get to the NFL predictions and stuff. So yeah. All right. So tomorrow night is basically the opening game of the regular season, with the Ravens traveling back to Mile High Stadium to take on the Broncos in a rematch of the AFC divisional game, which was pretty much a classic right off the top of the bat. I mean, it was a pretty good game, to say the least. So it could be interesting. But so pretty much as usual, I'm just gonna do like a division by division prediction, who's gonna end up in what place, and then I'll probably just do like a Super Bowl prediction, because I never can really figure out. You can never really figure out what's gonna happen in the playoffs, So yeah. So I'm gonna start off with the AFC. And I'm going to start off with pretty much the most easiest division on paper, which is also the most awful division on paper, which is the AFC West. Now, pretty much the way I figure the AFC West is going to go down is basically like this. Broncos in first place. That's pretty much a no-brainer. I think the Chiefs might actually try to get a wild card, but I'm not exactly sure if they can do it right off the top of the bat. Then there's pretty much a whole question of how good or how better will the Chargers be than the Raiders. I mean, basically it's going to be a battle for third place against the Chargers and the Raiders. But pretty much, if you're a football fan, usually you can pretty much figure out that the Raiders are going to pretty much end up in the place that they've been in pretty much in the last few years, pretty much in last place. So, yeah, not good. Alright, so AFC South. Now, this is pretty much a more interesting division, because you have the Colts. The Colts, who were a playoff team, they were second place in the division, against the Texans, who were pretty much awful. Pretty much the rest of the way. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out who's going to be better, the Colts or the Texans. I think I think as a whole, I think the Texans are a bit better, like on paper, but they always seem to let me down. You know, they always seem to let people down. I mean, they lost to God. What is it? I think they lost to the Vikings or something like that. I'm not sure. I can't remember a whole lot of what last season brought in terms of who won and such. But I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that the Colts will win the AFC South, but probably not by much. I think it's probably gonna be by a game. Then you have the Texans. I think the Titans could be a very interesting club to watch, because they're pretty much in a transitional period of whether they're trying to contend for a wild card or basically still trying to rebuild, in a rebuilding mode. And then there's the Jaguars, who are going to be basically my I think they're going to be my AFC representative in the Toilet Bowl, which doesn't exist, but if there was such a game, the Jaguars would be in it. Yeah, so there's that. So AFC North. This is basically this is probably the best division probably in the AFC, is this one right here. Because you could possibly see maybe three teams that are going to be probably having maybe a winning season. I'm gonna say this. I think obviously the Ravens lost a bunch of players on defense and certainly on offense as well, but I think they'll take a step back, and I think the division winner for the AFC North is going to be the Bengals, which is not obviously a no-brainer because they're a pretty good team. I mean, AJ Green is a beast. Then you have Andy Dalton, and certainly the Bengals have the most underrated defensive line in football. Seriously. See here. And basically, who's gonna get to second place is gonna be a pretty interesting one. I think the Ravens have enough power, to possibly get into a wild card spot, but nothing really much else. They're not going to be possibly a third seed, or, well, I think they could be possibly a sixth seed. I think the Texans could possibly get, fifth seed as well. So could be interesting as well. Peter King has the Browns tied with the Steelers, and I'm kind of curious as to why he did that. I don't think the Browns or the Steelers are going to be spectacular, but they're not going to be awful. I don't know. I think the Browns are going to be in fourth place this year, and the Steelers, yeah, pretty much. Steelers are going to be pretty much smack dab in third. So, then there's the AFC East division, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Patriots division, pretty much either way you look at it. And I'm going to say that the Dolphins are going to be possibly the second place team. I'm pretty much going to have to say that with a heavy heart, because if they don't, then that pretty much kills my chances of being right. So, I'm going to say the Dolphins. I'm going to go on a whim and say that the Dolphins are going to get second place in the division. So, yeah. And then there's the Bills in third, and then there's the Jets. Those pesky, pesky Jets in fourth. Yep. If you're a Jets fan listening to this, it's confirmed. You are going to be a fourth place team. You could possibly go 0-16. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't think you're going to go 0-16. I think you're going to possibly go 4. I think you're going to possibly win 4 games, possibly. That's just also going on a whim as well. The Jets are a mess. So there's that. And let's go to my prediction for who's going to be the AFC representative in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. My AFC prediction for who's going to be the AFC representative is going to be the Broncos. I'm going to say the Broncos are going to get to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC in that game. So let's continue on with the NFC. And let's go to the NFC West. And this division pretty much proved everybody wrong that it was going to be the worst division in football, which it was for quite a while back. But now it's pretty much going to be the tops of the tops in terms of very good. I'm going to say, obviously, the 49ers are going to win the division. I think they still have quite a few weapons. They have Anquan Bolden, who was dealt with to the 49ers from the Ravens in the offseason, which was actually a pretty big surprise to me. And pretty much in second place, by a very close margin, is going to be the Seahawks. And pretty much right in the middle of it's going to be the Rams. I don't think they're going to be exactly that great, but they're not going to be awful. Jeff Fisher is pretty much. Jeff Fisher, whether he likes it or not, is going to basically be still in a rebuilding mode, unless the 49ers lose Colin Kaepernick and the Seahawks lose quite a bit of their defense as well. So that could be a pretty interesting division to look at. And then there's the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't look all that great on paper as well. So, they have Larry Fitzgerald, but I don't really think of anything else. I know Bruce Arians who was I believe he was an assistant coach for the Colts when under Chuck Pagano, and he pretty much led the Colts to the playoffs in Pagano's absence. So could be interesting. Could be interesting year for the Cardinals. They might actually not get a losing season. They'll win the division. I'm just going to go ahead and say that out loud. The Saints will win the division. But I don't think it's going to be all that much of a difference. It just might be pretty much, I think it's probably going to be basically maybe a game difference, I feel. I think once Sean Payton is basically back in the helm, he's going to basically take control of the team as he did before, and I think he's going to take the division. I'm just going to go out and say that out loud. The Saints will win the NFC South. If I'm right or if I'm wrong, well then, yeah. And if I'm right, then I'm right. And then there's the Falcons. The Buccaneers and Panthers. I think both of those teams are going to be pretty good this year, but how good? I think the Panthers will get third place, and the Buccaneers are possibly going to get a fourth place spot in the division. So, but how much of a difference between those two teams? How much of a game difference? Could be interesting. All right, NFC North, the North Division. Oh yes, and I'm gonna say the Packers are gonna win the division. I think as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, as long as his receiving core still plays well, his offensive lines does well. If the defense improves and gets better, then we could be possibly seeing them possibly winning the division. And that's pretty much a factor, pretty much if all those things come together. And this is basically where it gets a little bit interesting. So basically, if you've heard, the Vikings got quite a few players from the Packers, including Greg Jennings and Desmond Bishop. And as far as I can tell, with the play that Ponder has been playing with for the past few years, it just doesn't seem like that the Vikings are going to make the postseason. I'm just going to go out and say that. I mean, it's pretty much Adrian Peterson's team, either way you look at it or not. The Vikings have never been a good passing team for the past good while. And then there's the Bears. The Bears. The Bears could actually overtake the Vikings, possibly, in this scenario. And the Lions. Ooh boy, Lions. I'm going to say the Lions are going to be my NFC pick to go to the toilet bowl. So it's going to be basically Jaguars versus Lions, which shouldn't be all that much because I would take the Lions over the Jaguars in a toilet bowl game anytime, anywhere. Easy as that. Okay. So pretty much got the Packers winning the NFC North. So let's go on to the NFC East. And this one is a very interesting one because all four of the teams are very, very close knit together, according to Peter King. And basically as the Giants winning the division, which is actually a not bad pick when you really look at it. I'm not sure how well RG3 is going to handle the pressure of a second season. Usually the sophomore curse happens and then everything takes a step back and stuff. So it's actually not a bad pick to pick the Giants to win the division. And pretty much, I'm going to say the Redskins are going to get second place. It's going to be a very close race to first place in terms of those two teams. Then probably the Cowboys are going to be third because I feel that the Cowboys are going to be better than Eagles this year, which is not going to be saying much because both the teams really aren't that great. So I am going to say that I'm going to pick let's think for a second here. In terms of the NFC representative in the Super Bowl, I am going to take... Oh, boy. I think the 49ers are going to be the NFC representative, which is not really saying much because they could be possibly number one seeds once the playoffs start. Could be interesting to figure out. So I have the 49ers as NFC representative in the Super Bowl and the Broncos as the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl is going to be taking place on February 2nd of the year 2014, which is less than 5 months. Less than 5 months from now. So get ready for that. And the game itself is going to be at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, which is basically where the place where the Giants and the New York Jets play. Even though they're not exactly in New York, I mean they're playing in New Jersey and stuff. So that could be interesting in itself. And my Super Bowl winner is, I'm going to say, the Broncos. The Broncos look absolutely good on paper. I think the 49ers are going to be good as well in that game. I think it's going to be a very interesting game, and I think it's going to be a good game. I think the way that Peyton Manning has been playing in terms of the cold weather could be a possible factor playing into it. I mean, usually the temperatures in New Jersey and around February is like around 30 degrees or something like that, so it's not that bad in terms of cold. It's a little bit above freezing, so it could be an interesting game to that. So yeah. So those are pretty much my NFL and Super Bowl predictions. In terms of tomorrow night's game, I'm going to go say that the Broncos will win it by quite a bit against the Ravens. And that game is going to be on NBC. And I believe that starts sometime around 7:30. They usually have that game. It's usually on around 7:30 or something like that. I haven't really been paying attention too much on that, but it is on NBC, just so you know. Okay. Okay, so let's do a prediction for how well the Packers will do, since they are my team. Yeah, that's right. They are my team. Alright, so pretty much last season we ended the regular season on a good note. We were 11-5, which is actually a pretty good number in terms of the prediction that I put on them. Last season I thought they would possibly win 11 to 12 games, so it was actually a pretty good number for them. So, okay, so in terms of a prediction, for week 1 we play at San Francisco, and if you were watching the 49ers versus Packers divisional game, it wasn't a pretty sight, so to speak. So I'm going to say that we'll lose to the 49ers on week 1. That's pretty much this prediction. I usually always go for the Packers, but that's just me. So, in week 2, we play at home against Washington. Washington's a good team. I'll have to admit it. I mean, Washington has a very good team, and how well we will handle RG3 in his first trip to Lambeau is going to be very interesting. But I think the Packers are going to win. I think the Packers are going to win that game and be at 1-1, and then they go to Cincinnati to play the Bengals on CBS. And I think the Packers can possibly steal a victory in this one. to get to 2-1. The Lions are always a very pesky team. I don't know why they always seem that pesky to me, but I think the Packers will win that game and be at 4-1. And then we go to Baltimore, and I think we can possibly steal a victory there and be at 5-1. And then at home against Cleveland, I think we'll win against the Browns that and get to 6-1. Vikings at the Metrodome. It could be interesting. Could be an interesting game to really think about. I'm gonna say we'll win against the Vikings and be at 7-1 if I remember it. 2, 3. Okay, 6-1. Okay. Then we'll win against the Bears. I think we'll win against the Eagles. I think we'll lose to the Giants at the Giants' home field. Then we'll beat the Vikings. We'll beat the Lions. I think we could possibly lose to the Falcons. That could be possibly a very interesting one to think about. And then we go to Dallas. I think we can beat Dallas in Jerryland. Then we play the Steelers in a Super Bowl rematch, and it could be a very interesting game to really think about. Yeah, who am I kidding? I'll just say that we'll win, and we could possibly lose to the Bears at Soldier Field. So I think we could possibly win at least 11 to 12 games, possibly maybe 10. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose 10, or at least get to 10. Excuse me. But I think 12 is a bit much to me, but it's kind of the Packers. I'm not sure how well Rodgers will adjust to his receiving core after Jennings goes away, goes to the enemy, the Vikings. Could be an interesting season for the Packers. As far as playoffs, I think if they play against possibly the Giants, I think the Giants have always had the Packers' number since that divisional game at Lambeau Field a few years back. I still think they do, but it could be pretty interesting. If they get into a knit and gritty game against Atlanta, they could possibly lose. And in terms of Seattle and San Francisco, they could quite possibly lose to those two teams as well. So in terms of how many games the Packers will win, possibly 10. It's a little bit more of a tougher schedule than the last few years. But I think possibly the best case scenario for them is going to be 11 games. We'll go to 11-5. Excuse me. So pretty much I have that all in the books. So so I think I'll do my week 1 predictions sometime on Friday. Just so that pretty much I don't have to really worry about it all that much, because I also have a day off on Friday as well as today, which is Wednesday. So there's that. Can't really think of much else to say. Thank you for listening to the Tom Retro Chronicle. This is episode 28, and definitely check out for a new episode sometime on Friday as I do some week 1 NFL predictions. So it could be fun times as well. Fun times for all. Oh yes. So yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say. So let's say adieu, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye.